Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got two main things to talk about on today's episode. Number one, Palantir, at the time of recording this, down 5%. We're going to talk about why that's happening, price action, sentiment, what's kind of going on. Number two, Germany seems like they want Palantir back. A year ago, they rejected Palantir from operating within the federal authorities, and it seems like some high-level officials have come to the realization that they might need Palantir, which is oddly similar to what Alex Karp said would happen a quarter ago. Lot to get into. Let's get into it. Okay, so first let's do price action and talk about kind of what's happening in the world of Palantir. So as you can see the price right now, we are at 23.18 as I'm recording this video, down 5.4% of the day. Now, why is this happening? The macro is not really in any issues today. Nvidia, as you can see, 906, that's a big AI play. Palantir, big AI play. Nvidia's up, Palantir is down. So what's going on and why is this happening? Well, the first reason that this is happening, or the main reason today that this is happening, is because of a downgrade, which is why you just saw Arnie's Twitter on the screen, because he tweeted this today, which is that Palantir was downgraded to a sell from Moness, Crespi, and Hart. I don't know this firm, but they downgraded Palantir. They still have a price target of $20, so it's not like a downgrade. It's like 15 or 16 or anything. But they do have a price target on 20. Their core argument is that there is an egregiously rich valuation because of AI hype. If you go read into the article, that's essentially what they talk about. Arnie here said that the same analyst called the valuation unsustainable at $9, and the same analyst expected further downside when the price was at $7. So it's one of those things to remember when you look at some of these analysts and how they think of valuations and what's going to happen to price. Historically, if they've said the company is always overvalued, maybe we need to think if they are necessarily correct about valuation when it gets higher. Obviously, if they felt it was overvalued at 9, at 23, they're going to think it's egregiously overvalued. Now, my thoughts on this. I bought the dip today. I bought 20 shares. For me, I think 22 to 25 is consolidation range for Palantir. If Palantir falls below 22, there's two things that would have happened. Either something very company specific, so something that none of us would have expected, some contract they missed, whatever, like something that would have happened for the company. Number two would have been a macro event that has taken the whole market down. Today, we're seeing a 5% day on an analyst note. Now, what happens when an analyst note comes out that's bearish? Retail doesn't go rush to sell. I mean, some of retail probably, but down 5% in a day on market cap of close to 60 billion bucks. You have a lot of institutional boutique investment firms, managing 40 million, 50 million, 100 million, maybe not billions of dollars. They read these firms and they're a lot more susceptible to what these firms are saying or what these analyst notes are saying. And they're like, you know what? It is overvalued. We got to sell it off. And that creates buying opportunities, in my opinion. The question is, what is the bright line for the best buying opportunity? I've seen some technicals going around saying that Palantir is heading towards 21 or 19. Maybe that happens. We don't know, right? That could happen. That could not happen. From my understanding of the price action, 22 to 25 has been serious consolidation range. At this point, it's March 28th. Earnings was on February 5th. So more than a month now, we've been stuck in this range. And the lowest we got to was 22.30 early February. So, and that's kind of crazy to say. We were stuck at 16 to 18 bucks for almost 8 months. So Palantir has had a couple phases in its life at this point. At one point, it was stuck from $7 to $9 for about 12 months, then $16 to $18 for the next 8 months. Are we stuck from 22 to 25 for the next 8 months? I don't know. I think if Q1 earnings go well and the macro holds up, then we can make the next leg into that 27, 29 range. But for now, and this has been my opinion for the past couple of weeks, I am really okay with us staying stuck between 22 and 25. I think people have to remember the stock at 24 bucks, it's up 45% year to date. It's still at this point up 30%, 35% year to date. So this is what happens when a stock gains a lot in a month or in a short amount of time. It's boring. After. Not the news. There's more news than we can handle when it comes to Palantir in terms of what's happening with the company. But the stock action gets boring because the street just can't keep having it go up forever. But it also doesn't go all the way down to like the juicy dips because there's too many people willing to buy the small dips. And then so you kind of get stuck in a range, which is honestly what Palantir shareholders should want, right? That we're consolidating in this range, creating a nice base. And then eventually we can break past resistance on the next catalyst. But for now, we're stuck in 22 to 25. That's fine to me. I buy at under 24. I've been buying a little bit in the high 24s. And that's it. So it's a dip day. If you want a DCA, then you can DCA. If you don't want a DCA and have it go a little bit lower, that's fine as well. To me, it's not that big of a deal in terms of the actual analyst reports. They'll say whatever they want to say. I think Wedbush, a bit more credible. Mariana from Bank of America, a bit more credible. There's a lot other credible analysts that think Palantir is doing a bit more than what some of the analysts who thought at $7 it was expensive are saying. So from that perspective, not that big of a deal, but we are down 5% on the day. All right, let's get into the big news of the day. This is something Arnie found over the past 24 hours, and it's pretty incredible stuff. So in the German media, this article came out, and I think there's some things we have to talk about in regards to Palantir. Criminal investigators want to use controversial Palantir software to counter terrorism. Due to the increased threat of terrorism, the federal security authorities are now saying we should follow suit, and experts are demanding that we use Palantir. Let's read a couple parts from this that Arnie highlighted that I thought were really interesting, and then we'll talk about why this is so significant. So, Dirk Peglow is calling for the nationwide introduction of the police analysis platform Vera from the U.S. manufacturer Palantir. Especially when defending against terrorist threats, the German security authorities are urgently dependent on bringing together the information available in the different data sets on relevant people across Germany as quickly as possible. Similar programs from Palantir are already used in the Hesse and North Rhine-Westphalia regions. The Vera software is currently being tested in Bavaria. However, the Federal Ministry of the Interior rejected its use in the federal authorities last year despite the corresponding purchase option. I made a video about that, I think, around this time in 2023 about how Germany has rejected Palantir. If you type in Germany reject Palantir emit on YouTube, it should pop up. Palantir is viewed critically by some data protection activists because the company was financed as a startup by the US CIA. Peglow called on the Interior Ministry Nancy Fraser, SPD, to rethink their views. Reading more. Peglow rejects her ministry's intention to develop an analysis tool on its own. This is unacceptable given the time that such a project would take in the existing threats. That sentence right there is a big deal. Basically, one of the officials here is saying it is unacceptable to try to build this thing on our own, given the time, effort, money, and eventual failure that it would take to actually develop something like this. It is not an easy thing to do, and the German officials are starting to recognize that. Reading a little bit further, in Hesse, the police have been using a platform known as Hessen Data with the help of Palantir program Gotham since 2017, so some parts of Germany are using it. In Bavaria, the Free State's data protection officer, Thomas Petri, asked the State Criminal Police Office to stop testing the Vera software with data from real people. When it comes to the future rules for the use of the new software, the Free State will have to follow the Federal Constitution Court's decision on the program at Hesse. And then, the article goes on to basically say that there are ways to use civil liberties protections in congruence with what Palantir is offering, which is already what we're seeing in certain parts of Germany that are not universalized to the federal authorities, which is why this article is upset and why some of the state officials gave their quotes to this article, trying to get the word out to the German public that maybe we should be thinking of Palantir in a different way. All right, what's my take on this? I think we knew this was going to happen. Karp said on the Q4 earnings call that France and Germany want to build something on their own, and he basically wished them good luck. It's kind of the visionary nature of Alex Karp. He knew that countries that cared so much about civil liberties and protections are skeptical of Palantir. He acknowledges that. He's like, look, I get it. But you guys are wrong. You shouldn't be skeptical of us, and I'm trying to convince you guys to understand what our software is actually doing. They didn't want anything to do with that. Now, in one of the most unsafe times on planet Earth in regards to invasions by countries into sovereign territory, terrorist attacks happening across the world, obviously with Hamas, it is a really scary time just to exist as a human being. And as a country, your number one obligation is to keep people safe. They give you tax dollars. You're supposed to put that into defense spending to keep it safe. With this German official basically saying we don't have the luxury or the time to try to build out our own Palantir, which no shit. Like, the Palantir spent 20 years building this stuff. They failed a lot in the beginning before they could get it right. And now it's there and it's available for you, and you have unlimited dollars to spend because it's all taxpayer. Like, you can buy it, and for you to reject it for ideological reasons because Peter Thiel supports Trump or because you think they're backed by the US CIA and they're too intelligent. It's like, well, you're trying to stop terrorist threats. Don't you want something that's very intelligent? It is absurd that some of the European countries have basically gone down the route where they think that their morals or their sort of beliefs in certain values, which are incredibly justified against Facebook and Amazon and Apple and Google, but against Palantir, to not even peel the onion a little bit and say, hey, these guys are one of the only tech companies in the world that cares about civil liberties. For them to have that same mindset against Palantir, and now for German citizens to potentially be under threat due to hostile terrorist attacks and the increase of the potential for terrorist attacks, it's really a shame from the German government. Now, what does that mean for shareholders? That means that maybe Germany comes back. Will they come back? I don't know. Will they suck up their pride? Who knows? But at some point, if the terrorist attacks become very real, we know Palantir has thwarted many terrorist attacks in Europe since 2014, they will make a call to Alex Karp. And Karp will have to make a decision at that moment if he wants to raise the price or not, because he will have bargaining power. He will have leverage. We just talked about the Lithuania $37 million contract they got 2 days ago. That was one of the episodes on Daily Palantir. And the reason they got that contract is because Lithuania on the Baltic states, that's not a defense contract, but he's getting a lot more friendlier with Lithuania, Palantir in general, and they're starting to develop a relationship. And that relationship likely will result in defense contracts. So in my opinion, I think Germany will be back. I don't know when it's going to happen. And when they do come back, it is only going to further and deepen the moat. And this is why someone's saying that it's overvalued at 23. It's like, you can look at whatever valuation you want. At the end of the day, Palantir is a product that is very hard to build. And if you have a product that's very hard to build, people will come running back because they're going to need your product. They're going to need access to that product. They're going to try to build their own products. They will fail. They will come to you, and they will pay whatever they need to pay to get access to it. And I think that's what's happening in Germany right now. That is only going to deepen the moat of Palantir. And if they get Germany, they're going to get some other big countries in Europe for defense. Those are going to be very lucrative deals. Codestrap has come on this channel publicly. He says he thinks NATO is a $100 billion market for Palantir alone outside of the commercial part of their business. And so over the next decade, it's just a question of if Palantir can fully capture that market. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. DailyPalantir.substack.com. You can subscribe for a free email newsletter every single day. Interesting news in the world of Palantir in the context of Germany. Stock is the stock currently right now as the video is ending. Stock's at $23.14. We'll see if it gets below. If it does, I'll be a buyer. If it doesn't, then we get to consolidate in this range and keep going from there. So that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.